If you're going into a battle and they give you a rifle and a sidearm, how much ammunition do you want? My answer would be all I can get. In the battle for freedom and the lives of your loved ones, food is your only ammunition. How much do you want? When do you want it? Now or after the battle starts? When will you need it? Can you buy it without proper identification? Will there be any food? Will it make your children sick? If there's a quarantine and you can't feed yourself, will you go to the gathering center and be immunized? You wipe out all these problems if you have a good food supply. Food is your ammunition to fight for your freedom and your life. How much will you need? We don't know. How much do you want? All you can get. I'm Alex Jones. I want all of you good guys to live to fight another day. Call 1-800-409-5633 or check it out on the web at efoodsdirect.com. Again, that number, 1-800-409-5633.
U.S. and the world slips slowly into economic and financial gridlock. Some economists predict a global financial meltdown and economic collapse worse than we have ever seen. Don't wait for the edicts to start coming out of Washington, D.C. before you begin to fill your pantry. Prepare for financial and economic Armageddon now. Ready Reserve Food has been in continuous operation, manufacturing the finest and dehydrated foods for nearly 40 years. Ready Reserve is the manufacturer, unlike other companies that just broker canned foods. Ready Reserve controls the quality from start to finish with double enameled cans and nitrogen packaging. When purchasing from Ready Reserve Foods, you are buying factory direct at wholesale prices. Many companies do not even offer a catalog, but we will be more than happy to send a catalog to you free of charge. Call 800-453-2202. That's 800-453-2202 or visit ReadyReserveFoods.com. Factory direct wholesale pricing from Ready Reserve Foods. Call us to prepare for financial and economic Armageddon now at 800-453-2202 for your free catalog now.
He's the T-Rex of political talk. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
We are live. Such a huge news day. We're going to cover the global financial collapse being engineered publicly by the globalists. Coming up, I'm going to get into calls for American citizens to be stripped of all constitutional rights. This is the Democratic Party whining about Arizona, saying they're going to control the border there because the feds won't do it. And we've got a few minutes left with Godfrey Bloom. He is a European Union member of Parliament from England, Yorkshire and Humber, and the former head of their party and former member of the European Union Parliament, Nigel Farage, a frequent guest here. I mean, this party's come from nowhere. Just a few men set it up a few years ago. Number 2 now in the elections, panicking the system, and his plane flipped, and it is a miracle they're not dead. I mean, the plane was just decimated with a big pile of grass and turf crammed into the cockpit. We need to pray for the pilot, but Nigel Farage, at least for now, is okay. We need some guards in there guarding him, though, in case this is some type of foul play. Probably isn't. We hope that's not the case, but it is suspicious. Again, sir, you were talking about what's happened to the UK Independence Party and how they've tried to block you and the dirty tricks you've gone through. Please tell us.
Well, we've been kept off. It's been a three-way deal for all the people on the platform. Have been the main parties, or the so-called main parties, and public service broadcasting is part of it. And they've been kept on. UKIP have been kept off. The United Kingdom Independence Party has been kept off. But it's bigger than that. The riots in Greece, 3 people this afternoon were killed in Greece. The riots in Greece, Greece is virtually breaking down. And this is a Europe-wide conspiracy, because if you look at the French newspapers, there's absolutely nothing about this in the French newspapers. They're still talking about football. And we've got a really serious conspiracy going on to try and close down just how serious this situation is. We are in a financial meltdown in Greece. We are in a meltdown. We will be in Portugal, Spain, Italy, and possibly Ireland. And it's all being covered up. None of this has been discussed in the United Kingdom election. I was in the European Parliament yesterday afternoon, and I made a speech there to say how it's on the UKIP website, to say that they simply don't get it. This is really, really dangerous. And apparently I gather that people in Germany now are selling euros and buying gold bullion as fast as they can. This is just the beginning, Alex. This is just the beginning.
Well, I have a London Guardian article today with top economists saying that England has almost the same debt ratio as Greece, Portugal, and Spain, and that England may melt down.
That's absolutely true. And we've just had an election where nobody's talking about it. Nobody's actually addressing the real issues. And the British debt is very much worse. It's very much worse because a lot of things that we don't show. We don't show public financial initiatives. We don't show public pension liabilities, which you're bound to do as an individual company globally, I think now, under accounting rules. So people are being lied to constantly right across Europe, and I suspect it's the same at the United States, that nobody is actually telling the truth. And I think it was your Teddy Roosevelt who said that the more you tell people the truth, the more they hate you. But I don't believe that actually perhaps to be the case. Now is the time for truth, and we're just not getting it.
Let me shift gears to another issue and then talk about Nigel Farage and how people get involved in the UK Independence Party. Because if we can bring down the euro and restore sovereignty, again, over 70% of the decisions made in England are made by unelected bureaucrats. Some numbers are even higher. The same thing's happening here under the North American Union by stealth. I know there's been secret deals under Blair and Brown and others that have been confirmed where illegal aliens have been brought in as a political weapon that the state can use to menace against Brits regardless of their color. Here in the U.S., we have illegals firebombing restaurants, stabbing people, burning buildings, attacking police. In Arizona, California, it's only in the local news. The local news defends it and says it's some type of 1776 freedom. Meanwhile, the media is demonizing the nonviolent Tea Parties that want to audit the Federal Reserve and get our country back. School children are not allowed to wear American flags. Illegals are, for the last 4 years straight, pulling down American flags at post offices, running up Mexican flags. What would number one, how are they using foreigners as a political weapon in England, A, and then B, what would happen in England if they told kids they couldn't wear your national flag?
Well, we're getting exactly the same situation here. All you need to do basically here in the United Kingdom is turn up, register as a voter, and you're a vote. So what's actually happening, the establishment are getting hundreds of thousands of voters to vote for their policies, people who haven't been in this country, they've not paid any tax, they've only just turned up. So the whole democratic system is virtually over here completely and totally broken. And nobody's actually talking about it. And it's not just in the United Kingdom. The same thing is happening in Germany and France. It isn't just here.
And if anybody dare do anything to the hordes of foreigners, particularly Muslims in France, they burn down part of the city and it's covered up. I mean, this is a political weapon.
Well, the problem that we have, I'm not sure about North America, Alex, but one of the problems we have in this country is that public service broadcasting, BBC, is living on its reputation, which was established for giving the truth to people in dire times in the war. And what's happening now, that reputation is being used so people think that if they hear something on the BBC, that it's actually true. But it isn't. We're being lied to consistently and covered up by public service broadcasting. And this is one of the problems we've got because most people, Alex, their only access to information is public service broadcasting, the BBC. They listen to the BBC and they give it the credence that it used to have. And of course they're being lied to and cheated to all the time. And it's given us that some people now are beginning to understand that, and they're not voting. It's extraordinary that, do you know that nearly half the electorate today won't vote at all?
Absolutely, because they don't trust the mainline parties, and they're not even aware of the UK Independence Party that's having victory after victory inside of a complete news blackout. And that's the good news, is that the British people are starting to find out what's happening. If they'll just get out there and vote, they can defeat this system. It's like a week or two ago, Gordon Brown was in a meeting with a lady, one of these staged events, and she said, look, the illegal aliens are bankrupting us. They're voting. The country's falling apart. And he got in his car and called her a bigot. I mean, since when, if you don't let your country be overrun and you don't let your country go bankrupt and you stand up for your country, you're not a bigot. I mean, Gordon Brown, is he going to be defeated?
He's certainly going to be defeated, but you see, the interesting thing is, if you mention immigration, if you mention these things which real people, ordinary working, she was an ordinary working person. She was an ordinary little old lady, in an ordinary little old working town of this country, and she's the bigot for mentioning it. But it's not just Gordon Brown, Alex. That's how they all think. They all think the same way. The establishment parties think the same way.
But that's the globalist plan. I mean, the UN and others admit no nations, no borders, and they will bring in people, they will get them on welfare, have a dependent group, and then somebody says, hey, this has got to stop, and Gordon Brown calls her names. Give us a forecast. What do you see happening in the next few years in England?
Well, it's going to get worse and worse because the country, I'm afraid the country's broke. It's just the same as Greece. We've got a guy coming in. I think tomorrow morning you'll see that the new Prime Minister here will be Dave Cameron, and he has got nothing to offer. He believes in just the same things. He looks better on TV.